So this journey all began, I guess, about 14 years ago. I went through a couple of major life experiences. Prior to that, I was pretty sheltered, uh, single majority of my adult life, and you know, didn't really have any real stresses or any real responsibilities. Living an adolescent life pretty much until my mid 30s, and then you know, major change. Um, it put me into an extremely depressed state, and caused me to really, I was a very social person, and I ended up just becoming very secluded. Um, Got into a relationship, serious relationship, the first real serious relationship of my adult life, and I was very immature emotionally, so the relationship, didn't go very well. I take the majority of the responsibility for that. And I was the CEO of a fairly successful startup company that was doing very well. I was worth a few $1 million on paper, and that came crashing to a halt in November of 2013. And then a year later, I went through a breakup with that life partner that I met, and that just sort of put me into a bit of a tailspin with the already severe depression I was dealing with. And then on December 25th, 2014, I was sitting with my dog Taz, sitting down eating some 3 pieces of leftover pizza and a Barks root beer. I'll never forget it. And I just looked at my dog and I said, "What am I doing?" And I just decided to make a change. The next day, I got up and I literally just started to watch videos on YouTube and put an extreme effort in. I was always working on myself over that time. So, over a 9-year period while I was with my life partner at the time, I was working on myself. I was putting the effort in, and there were changes happening, and I was moving forward. But I didn't feel myself at all. So on that day, December 25th, 2014, I literally made a right hand turn and never looked back. Within 6 months of that, from the breakup, I had been working for my partner at that time after my company had gone bankrupt. And then I got back into an old industry. I was involved in the recruiting and staffing industry when I lived in Toronto, and got back into that game and made some pretty good money fairly quick. And then made an investment because I wanted to get out of the corporate world. I wanted to get out of, I guess the stress of working in that environment and with people that really are not really concerned about anything other than the dollar figure. So I made an investment into a sea salt company. At that point in time, I started to educate myself on the food industry, sea salt, learning how to make a great product. And then within a year, I met a young lady who was working with a company called Random Acts of Kindness. Her name is Anna Howard, and she was a beautiful young woman who just wanted to help people. And but she really didn't understand business or how to take care of those things. So I was giving her some guidance and some advice, and we both had children, and I had actually opened up to her about my depression and some of my life experiences, and she opened up to me about some of her situations in that. And about 7 months after I had met her, she went into a bad spell and ended up taking her life. When she took her life, it really made me aware of my headspace, basically about 12 years earlier, and really how bad off I was and what was going on. And then, coming to the awareness that I was, suffering from depression for about 8 years, put on a great face and denied it, and would see other people in depression and felt sorry for them, but never really admitted to it, never really, came to terms with what I was going through. But after her taking her life, it hit me hard. It really did. It put me into a pretty interesting state. But I came out of that, and I started to realize the triggers, and I put a lot of effort into working on my mental health, and I got to an extremely good place. At that time, I also started Salts of the Earth, and Salts of the Earth was basically just focused on raising money for charities and nonprofit organizations, sporting teams, and things of the sort. With the people putting it together are basically me 10 years ago. For the person who didn't want to leave the house and was afraid to be judged and afraid to, I didn't want people to see behind the curtain. But putting together this company, and the way that it works is basically we put together the product, and 100% of the profit that we generate comes back to programming and initiatives around mental health and addiction. And so I started it, but I was also, still wheeling a bit, and going through some interesting life experiences at the time. And then in 2017, my mother was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and my mother and I didn't really have the best relationship. So that hit me hard, and I started to really reel or spin, and just knowing that the relationship could never get better because it was just in that state. But ironically, our relationship did get really good for that year that she was alive. She ended up passing in October 5th of 2017. And when she died, it made me really look at where I was and what I was doing, and I knew that I had to make some major changes. So I did. I put the effort in, and I kept on clawing to, based on the promise I made myself on December 25th, 2014, that I want to be the best version of myself possible. So I continued to work on myself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. And, at the time I was still doing the recruiting. That's sort of what sustained my life at the time. But I was really working to get the Sea Salt company going. And, there were a couple of changes that happened with the Sea Salt company, with changing of a couple of partners that I had. And now I'm in charge completely to just bring out the vision that I have. So now Salts of the Earth is a majority owner of the Prince Edward Island Sea Salt Company, and all the product is packaged by Salts of the Earth, and the people who put that packaging together for both the Prince Edward Island Sea Salt Company and Salts of the Earth are people that are in the same battle that I really understand. I don't understand their story or their past, but we all have a bond. We all have a common link, is that we're all trying to be a better version of ourselves. So I have three amazing people that work with me. They don't work for me. The last thing I am is a boss. But I have a vision. I have a dream, and I don't want to lose any more people in my life that I know that shouldn't go. And some of the stories that I've heard since I opened up to my mental health from friends and family and just strangers, and I just think that we need to be just better to each other and have some understanding. When I was younger, I always put on a good face and all that, but I was aggressive in my pursuit of success, and it was all based on having materialistic gains, and I have no desire to have lots of money. I don't care about money at all, to be honest with you. I'd rather have a business and things that I do that I can barter with other people. I want a quality of life, and I want good people that are authentic in my life. I'm trying to be as authentic as humanly possible and honest with everybody in my life. More honest to myself than anybody, but I want to be honest with everybody. Sometimes it's hard, but yeah, you gotta be honest with people. So, this journey is, it's real. I did an article 3 years ago in the Charlottetown newspaper, The Guardian, where I was quoted saying I want to be a new age millionaire. I just sort of came up with that on the spot. I think it's actually, I might have read it somewhere or whatever, but I want to change 1 million people's lives over the balance of whatever God or whoever is up there gives me, but I really want to help people. So I believe that if I can leverage my business experience and I believe my passion and my drive and my energy, if I can focus all that to help people, if I can help one person, but I want to help people just connect. So what we're trying to do is give people great products. So at Salts of the Earth, we have products that we procure from around the world, put them into a box. They're really great salts. And with the Prince Edward Island Sea Salt Company, we make the salt ourselves, and we make a pretty good salt, I gotta say. And our goal is to try and bring people together to break bread. A lot of the best conversations I've had with my mother and my father were over dinner. And there were certain times in my life when I was younger where I was bullied, and like everybody has been. And my mother would call me in to help, say, "Can you help cut the carrots, Darren?" And when I'd cut the carrots, she'd ask me how I'm doing, to check in on me. And those conversations helped me a lot. We'll stop having them when you get older. She always checked in on me, even though we didn't have a really good relationship. But the point is that we need to start having conversations again. So I really want to give people an excuse to break bread and to invite somebody over. Invite somebody over to their house that they know is not doing well, and to use our salts to as the excuse. I just want to be the instigator. I want to agitate the conversation. Once you ask somebody how they're doing and they say they're doing good, but they just lost their job or going through a divorce or whatever, call bullshit. Call them on it, because you might check in on them the next day and they might not be there, and you'll regret it. The day that Anna took her life, I talked to her at 1:30 in the afternoon, and we had plans to get together on the Friday. And she was going to come in and do some stuff for Salts of the Earth. And she called me at 5:30 that evening, and I was on a call, and I didn't answer the phone, and I called her back, and she didn't answer. And the next day, I was on social media, and I saw some things flying around. And then a mutual friend sent me a private message asking me if I knew what happened to her, and I told him to not tell me over text, but to call me. So he called me and he told me, and I shut down for 2 days. It's the worst feeling I've ever had, because I thought maybe she was reaching out to ask me for help. And I didn't answer the phone. But I didn't know anybody other than the one gentleman who told me. I didn't know anybody else that knew her, so I didn't know much about her. I didn't know how hurt she was and what she was going through, you know. So when I went to the funeral, which took a while to happen because of the situation, I ended up meeting her sister and her mother and her brother and her dad. And her sister took me aside and it spoke of me because I guess I was helping her, and she had mentioned me. And anyways, they all told me that I meant a lot to her and that I was helping her out. But they told me that she was suffering for 20 years, and that now she had found peace, and it was, you know, that it was time. And I couldn't understand that. I have a daughter. She had a son. Her son was 3 years old when it happened, so I couldn't relate at all. But what that did is it made me look at mental health in such a different way, and I started to realize the gaps in the system. And I'd had a couple of conversations with her about what she was doing and how, you know, with the programming and all that, and there was nothing for a 33-year-old single woman here in Prince Edward Island. So I started to become very open with my mental health, and I started trying to do one act of kindness, one random act of kindness a day in her memory. And that slipped away, but I still do many, many random acts of kindness, and I try to be kind to everybody as much as I can. But after that, in having, you know, many conversations over the last 3 years with a lot of different people, I realized that, you know, whether it's here in Prince Edward Island or Victoria, BC, or Florida, wherever it is in the world, I think we're all, you know, there's so much that we're becoming more and more distant. I mean, we're more connected now than we've ever been, but we're, you know, just in talking to some of the people that are close to me that know my story, I know their story and all that, you know, we're very fortunate that we've opened up to each other because we can relate to each other. But, you know, sometimes takes an excuse, and my excuse is this box of salt. And I'm not trying to create a business. I'm trying to create a community. All of our products are put together by hand. Our labels are crooked. Our boxes are put together the best they can, but they're done by a human being. We have the opposite business model of Walmart. We're trying to create jobs and opportunity and hope. Hope, I think, is the biggest thing. And that's what it's all about. So I'm asking you and people you know to buy this simple box of salt. Every day, people tell me that their doctors told them that they shouldn't be eating salt. Well, the reality is their doctor's an idiot, and you need salt to survive. It's just the amount of processed salt that we have in our diets that, you know, we don't realize. I can speak from experience. I was a big boy, and now I'm weighing in at 185 pounds, the same amount that I weighed when I was 19 years old. But with that salt that we need daily, we also need mental health, which is, you know, more important than anything, because with poor mental health comes poor physical health, poor emotional health. So I'm asking people to take the time. I don't care if you buy my salt, to be honest with you. Well, I do. I only have a business to run, but I want people to take the time to just break bread, sit down, and make a whole meal. I never made meals. I was a guy that ate out in restaurants when I lived in Toronto all the time. I never took the time, and now I eat good whole meals. So that is my therapy. Cutting carrots, cutting cucumbers, and, you know, making my meals is it's a break. and it's my daily dose of me, and it's good food that I enjoy, and I sprinkle my amazing salt on it. And that's what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to take the time to buy one of our salts, and when you buy that salt, realize that you're giving somebody an opportunity. The more salt we sell, the more fingers we need to put those labels on, the more boxes that need to be put together, more people we need sending emails, and the whole thing. So if we can do one thing as a company, as two companies, because we're pushing out a couple of different things, but if we can do one thing, we want to try and bring people together. My goal is to put some interesting initiatives together where we can try and give people the excuse to get together for one good meal a week and use our salts. And if you can buy one box off us a year for all those special meals, then we know that hopefully those good conversations that you're having over those meals will lead to better relationships and better opportunities to keep your mental health and your physical health in check. Thank you, and I hope that you can support us.